Well, it's Friday night. I just dropped my son off at youth group at Calvary Temple, and I thought I would jump on for a few minutes here just to see if anybody is out there that wants to connect for a few minutes tonight. Some of us have been fasting this week, part of the week, all of the week, a day, just some way, shape, or form. And I'm really proud of those of us that have taken that step of faith and put ourselves out there, especially those that are attempting to fast for the first time. I'm so proud of you. It is not easy. And, it's, you think, oh, yeah, I could do it if I wanted to. But when you actually try it, you realize the addiction that many of us have to food, that we turn to food for comfort, we turn to food for distraction, and we don't get in trouble for using food as a coping mechanism like we would um, other things. If we turn to alcohol or drugs or other things to cope, then uh, we'd probably get in trouble. But a lot of us turn to food, and we use it as we call it comfort food for a reason, because it does bring us comfort, and food is good. That's the thing. God gave us food to enjoy, but when food becomes something that we turn to, when food becomes something that controls us, then what God created as good can become um, controlling. It becomes spiritually harmful, and so it's good to regularly remind our bodies who's boss. And there is no better way to do that than fasting. And I've had fasting in the arsenal for years and years and years, for decades, and just haven't used it. And what I said a few weeks ago about fighting battles with slingshots when God has given us the rocket launcher of fasting, it's true. It is a powerful spiritual weapon that can strengthen us spiritually. It can help us. It can help us hear from God, to tune out all of the noise that so often drowns out the voice of God. And so tonight there's a verse in First Corinthians 9 that I wanted to share with us. First Corinthians 9, the Apostle Paul is talking about contextualization, right? And he says, I became all things to all men. To the Jews, I became like the Jews in order to reach the Jews. To the Gentiles, I became like them. Um, I became all things to all men so that by all means possible, I might reach as many people with the gospel. That's my translation of First Corinthians 9. And then he goes on there. He says that he closes out chapter 9 by saying this, and this is what I wanted to share with us tonight. He says, I do not fight like a man beating the air, um, but I beat my body and I make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified from the prize. He says, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer just punching the air, but he has a target for his punches. He has a target for the fight, and he says it's his body. He says, I beat my body and make it my slave. And it's an interesting thing that the apostle Paul says there, where there's this fight that's happening in his mind, and it's a fight against the sinful nature. It's a fight against the appetites of the flesh. And he says, I fight. And we have all of these um potential targets for our fight. We want to fight this group, or we want to fight that group, or we want to mobilize people to engage and make a difference over there or over here. But Paul says, hey, it's got to start here. It's got to start with me, right? So I have to master myself. And it's in the book of Genesis. I can't remember the exact reference. Somebody can look it up and put it in the chat. Uh, but I think it's God talking to Cain when he says, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it. You must control it. You must be the master of the sin that indwells our flesh. And so Paul, a long time later, says the target of his fight, the bullseye for him, is his body. I beat my body and I make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. So the prerequisite for going out and sharing with others is first embracing the message, embodying the message. And the body, we have this sinful nature. We have the appetites, the instincts, the urges of the sinful nature, and it doesn't go away. Some people, some people claim that they became a Christian and they never wanted to do these things again. That has not been my experience, and through over 30 years of walking with the Lord and having the Holy Spirit, and over 30 years of being in ministry and observing countless other Christians, I can say through personal experience and much observation that it is a battle. And the primary battle is not out there, it's in here, to teach our bodies who's boss. Our bodies are not in the driver's seat of our behavior. Our faith is, Jesus is, the Holy Spirit is. And so fasting, like no other spiritual discipline, it denies the and the appetites of the body, in order to remind us, remind our bodies, remind the enemy, um, the the spiritual forces that are at work, unseen but very real around us, of who's in charge of us. My stomach is not in charge of me. My appetites, my urges, my instincts, they do not control me. I am controlled by Christ through the Holy Spirit. And it's through the Spirit that we're able to have the power to defeat the sinful nature. It's through the Holy Spirit, it's through the empowerment of the indwelling Spirit that we have the power to live a victorious Christian life. Because if we cannot say no to food, we will struggle to say no to other appetites of the flesh. And food is a good thing. I thank God for food. I thank God for biscuits and gravy. I thank God for my mom's banana pudding and my mama's blackberry cobbler. Man, I haven't eaten all week, so all these foods are coming to my mind. I thank God for food, but when food um, gets elevated to a place where it controls us, to a place where we turn to it rather than Christ for comfort, then we have to put it in check. We have to remind our stomachs that our soul is the priority, that our soul is in the driver's seat, not our stomachs. And so fasting is such a gift. You know, it's incredibly hard, but it is such a gift. God has given it to us so that we can become more like Jesus Christ. So I hope you'll read that passage in First Corinthians 9 when Paul gets autobiographical and he says, I fight myself. It's me against me. And but it's not just me, it's me plus the Holy Spirit. It's me plus the power of God. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead lives in me. And if you're a Christian, he lives in you. And so that's how we're able um, to consistently deny the urges and the appetites and the instincts. You know, we're not held hostage by our uh, genetic predispositions. None of us are. Right? We're not held hostage by the generations that went before us and the patterns and the lifestyles. We're not held hostage by the expectations of our society or our culture. No, no. We are slaves of Christ, and He is the master. And so we are reminded of that through fasting. And when the Apostle Paul says, I fight my body and I make it my slave, so that after I go out and tell others about Christ, it'll be a reality in my life. It's first and foremost got to be a reality in me, right? Where I am experiencing it. You know, I am experiencing what I am sharing, where it's experiential theology, right? Not just intellectual theology. It's an experiential gospel. It's an experiential victory, not just a theological victory. And so that's what I wanted to share tonight. First Corinthians 9, the Apostle Paul is in the ring and he's not fighting Satan. He's not fighting Lucifer. He's not fighting demons. He's not fighting